Well, the damage in Marrakesh hasn't been as extensive as some of the pictures you've seen in the rural areas south of here, but you can just make out a 150-year-old mosque over my right shoulder. That was severely damaged. Its tower collapsed and landed on a pickup truck underneath. Now, thankfully, no one here was hurt. The death toll in Marrakesh itself is estimated around 20, so much, much lower than in other parts of the country. But there's a lot of structural damage to some of those UNESCO heritage sites, including the red walls, the famous red walls that surround the city of Marrakesh. So that will be a real concern. We know from UNESCO that they are putting together a plan to help the Moroccan government plan for the repairs. So Marrakesh itself has seen some damage. Some restaurants have collapsed. The mosque behind me, as I just mentioned, having some collapse as well. Most of that rubble has been cleared. Most of that has been dealt with now. The authorities moving quickly to get Marrakesh back to business as usual, and that's what we're seeing behind me, that market stall, those sellers trying to get back to work and trying to get back to business as normal as quickly as possible.
And across the country, Alex, how are people coping? Many sleeping outside, terrified of aftershocks.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, and we saw that when we arrived last night. Thousands of people lining the streets of Marrakesh. I spoke to some of them, and I assumed initially that they might have come from those hardest-hit regions, but no, they're actually residents of Marrakesh who didn't feel safe in their homes that hadn't had any damage. They just thought, actually, these buildings are quite old, and we're not sure they would withstand another shock, another aftershock or tremors. So they are opting to sleep on picnic blankets or whatever they can find in the streets, in parks, in car parks around the city, trying to get through the day and not entirely sure when they will feel comfortable going home. And that includes elderly people, young children. I've seen all of these people staying in the streets, and that's the way that sense of walking on eggshells and that sense of uncertainty is very palpable across the city of Marrakesh.
And what are you hearing about the rescue and recovery operation? How's that going? Are people starting to receive the aid they need?
Well, that is accelerating. They are pushing as quickly as they can to get to the hardest hit areas. They're about an hour and a half drive south of here in the Atlas Mountains. Now, I was just speaking to a local guide from the area, and he said, well, actually, some of these places, it's not about clearing the roads, it's that there are no roads. You can only access them on horseback or with a donkey, and so some of these people are having to evacuate people that way. So that is what makes it so complicated. The authorities are trying to get there as quickly as possible, but it takes time. And of course, in this situation, we heard from the Red Cross, time is of the essence, and so those efforts will be accelerating as quickly as possible.